Hi, my name is Jennifer Elder, and I'd like to start off with a quote that is sometimes attributed to Albert Einstein. And he says that stupidity is doing the same thing the same way over and over, and yet expecting different results. Now, most of us in this room see the stupidity and the insanity behind that statement, and I would say that's true of most people, except maybe the vast majority of educators out there. And I'd like to take you back to a day of my college life, and you can relive a nightmare that I'm sure you've all been there. That day in class where you walk in and you go into this huge lecture hall that in winter is way too hot, in summer it's way too cold. The chairs are really tiny and better suited for 8-year-olds than adults. There's not enough room to lay your stuff out. The professor stands up behind their podium and they stare down at their notes. If you're lucky, those notes are only 5 years old. If you're not so lucky, they're staring down at the book that they wrote 10 years ago, and they are now going to quote you verbatim what you just had to read for homework. And so you sit there, and you've got your pad of paper or your iPad, and you're ready to take notes frantically. And then the professor starts, and it comes out, wah, 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 wah. And you're going, oh boy. So you're scrambling, you're writing more notes, you're writing more notes, and then it starts to happen. The eyes start to flutter, and then the head bobs down. And then all of a sudden you wake up with a start as you realize the professor has just said, and this is going to be the most important thing on the final exam. And you went, this? What is this? I don't know what this is. I'm going to die. And so for the next 55 minutes of a 60-minute class, you're trying to figure out what this is. And the rest of the course goes right over your head. And this happens twice a week for the next 15 weeks. And then on the last day of class, the professor stands up in front of the room and says, you know, it's happened again. I had such high hopes for you. I thought you would do better than the year before. But no, I'm disappointed. You did terribly on the exam, and this is just awful. It's the same thing all over. And you guys are never going to graduate unless you shape up. Now, of course, they didn't tell us what we needed to do to shape up, just that we weren't going to graduate. But all of a sudden, I flash back and I go, wait a minute. That first day of class, the professor said, you guys are going to be different this time. And yet, at the end of the class, he's saying, we did the same thing. And there's Einstein's theory in action. If you do the same thing the same way, you can't expect different results. Nowadays, education has to change. To get different results, we have to change. We don't need someone to sit there and open up our brains and insert knowledge. The old theory of a knowledge dump. The PhD stands up in the room and just tells you everything they know. We've got Google. We've got Wiki. We don't need that. We don't need them to quote a Harvard researcher. We can talk to the researcher directly through Twitter or LinkedIn. We don't need to memorize statistics. I would love to know the last time you solved a major problem by knowing the exact day that the War of 1812 started. June 18th, in case you're wondering. Yeah, exactly. But when did we ever use that? That's not appropriate anymore. So we as educators need to change. And I think that as educators, what we do is inspire. And inspire is not only what we do with our students, but it's also the definition of how we do what we do. And the I stands for ignite. We ignite people's thinking. We get our students to think outside the box. We stretch them beyond their comfort zone. The N is novel. We take different approaches. We try and reach different learners through different methods. So we bring in YouTube. We bring in speakers. We do something different. The S is style. We use humor. We use comedy. We're not afraid to be who we are. We can be transparent. The P stands for passion. We love what we do. And even if you can't get really excited about the latest accounting and auditing update, at least you can get excited about the process of teaching and of learning. And you can still be passionate about a topic that might be a little on the dry side. The I stands for inquiry. We should spend more time asking questions and less time pontificating. The R is to make it relevant. Bring what you're teaching down to a level that people can actually use it, where they can walk out of there and say, this is cool. I'm going back to my office because we can do this tomorrow. And the E stands for expecting success. We believe that our students are capable and can achieve, and we're there to help them grow. So that's what we do. We inspire. And I'd like to start you on down the process. I realize that most of you in the room are teachers, some of us in the traditional sense of being up in front of a classroom, but each of us is a teacher outside of the classroom with children, with our coworkers, with people that we meet on Twitter. We all can be teachers. So I'd like to ignite that process for you and get you started down the path of inspiring other people. And I'd like to use something that my dad used to say to me, and he was one of my great teachers. He'd hold up a cup and he'd say, what is it? And what would you say? It's a cup. And what's its status?
Half full.
Half full. We like that. And he would say, no, it's always full. So with that, I'd like you to inspire others. Thank you.